Right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Torso, 1973. Started watching it last night, and it's pretty sleazy. In Italian, it's called "The Bodies Bear Traces of Carnal Violence." Torso is the English title, and it's got an extended cat and mouse villa scene between the killer and the final girl, the blondie. The film's last 30 minutes. Quentin Tarantino and Eli Roth cited it as... Well, Quentin Tarantino showed his print of the film at the 1999 QT Fest. And Eli Roth cited it as among his favorite gialli and an influence on both Grindhouse and Hostel Part 2. Both 2007. I've seen Grindhouse. I didn't know Eli Roth was involved with that. But Eli Roth has ripped off a lot of Cannibal Holocaust and slasher movies. Anyway, it's got a Blu-ray release by Blue Underground. The DVD is on Anchor Bay Entertainment. It was often played as a double feature with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. So a little trivia there. I'm seeing it's kind of like a softcore porno, giallo, slasher. Anyways, one of the Italian ladies in this one has hairy armpits, by the way. And you've got some lipstick lesbians in it going at it. Some dry humping lesbian foo. So the black lipstick lesbian is pretty hot. So is the gal with the hairy armpits. And there's even a prostitute with black nipples in there. For good measure. Lots of nudity. Lots of big-breasted women in this one. Although the black lipstick lesbian is not so big-breasted. All the white women are, though. So anyways, Jane is the blondie at the end. She's got the hots for France, an art history lecturer. Anyway, starts out with some lesbian foo orgy thing that's being filmed on camera. Kind of comes back to haunt the killer at the end. And so there's a series of murders around this Perugia place. University students getting murdered. But he has a psychosexual disorder uses red and black folders to strangle his female victims before cutting them up. Or at least there's a lot more cutting up at the end. Everything in the beginning is kind of off camera, and the kills aren't very graphic. They're kind of fake blood kills, like tomato soup. Bright red blood, like blood from the movie Blood Feast, Herschel Gordon Lewis. Anyways, all these guys are like peeping toms, so you're kind of guessing who the killer is, because all of them are sick perverts. And, anyways, after a bunch of killings, this couple's like making out in this cheap-looking car out in the middle of nowhere, and the killer shows up and kills both of them. And then there's an orgy party, an orgy hippie kind of party where this gal is toking up the weed, and two guys are like chasing after her, and then she's just stayed with the two other guys because the killer's in the forest, and he ends up killing her. So the four gals go up to this isolated villa. The two lipstick lesbians, the gal with the hairy armpits and the blondie, follows them in her car later on. She's the only survivor in this one. The killer ends up going to the villa. There's this dude Stefano who has the hots for the hairy armpits gal, but for some reason she's creeped out by him. She doesn't want anything to do with him. So he ends up getting killed at the villa. He's like snooping around, watching the naked lesbians sunbathe. Even the milk guy is watching them do their thing. And the killer ends up being Franz, the art history lecturer. He ends up killing the gal with the hairy armpits and the two lipstick lesbians. He starts sawing them up in front of the blondie who sprained her ankle by falling down the stairs. And, so she's kind of hiding up in her room. But then Franz makes an appearance. He starts reliving his childhood, where this kid promised to grab the doll that's hanging on the edge of the cliff in a childhood scene, and the boy ends up falling off the cliff. He thought he was going to get to see her take off her panties or something while in return for grabbing the doll, but he ends up falling off the cliff to his death, and that caused a permanent psychological scar for Franz. Plus, he was going to get blackmailed for his photo shoot with the lesbian foo. They were filthy B-word, and dolls made out of flesh and blood seduced him into a three-way and then blackmailed him. So he continued his killing spree to cover his tracks because the gal with the hairy armpits, saw him driving around with the scarf on. And so he goes after Jane after he details all his horrific psychosexual disorder babble. And the doctor who took care of Jane's ankle shows up. So that's pretty much the movie. I think I covered everything. The ending is long, 30 minutes, really? But it's got enough exploitation elements, really, to give me 5 out of 5 stars. I love this flick. I posted the free movie version of it with the Eli Roth introduction and the Spanish subtitles. Those are kind of annoying. The things you got to do to watch movies on Netflix. And then I posted the very short trailer, which looks more like a TV spot. And I just got a call from my ex-wife that my son is suffering from ear pain. He's probably got an ear infection. Remember when he had that when he was little? He was like screaming for an hour. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. So I took him to the doctor, and he had an ear infection. The joys of raising a baby. Anyway, so she sings that she's going to cut into my timeshare today. That's why I haven't gone to pick up my son, and I was able to do this movie review a little earlier. And so she says I have to do makeup time next week, which probably means that I have to do 3 hours of makeup on the weekdays next week. So that's the deal. My ex-wife's springing another surprise on me. I don't know why she couldn't have taken him to the emergency room last night, or why she had to wait so long to bring him to the urgent care this morning, but that's part of having to deal with my ex-wife. I guess I shouldn't complain because she hasn't forced the COVID shots on my son yet. But anyways, the good news is that I was able to get this review in. I didn't think I would be able to get it in this early. Not that awake yet, but this was his mention after all. What do I got coming? Okay, Men of War. Dolph Lundgren, Karate Man recommendation, A Force of One. Chuck Norris, another Karate Man recommendation. Then I got 2 AIP movies, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, 1971. And Some of My Best Friends Are, 1971. Lizard in a Woman's Skin, of course, is Luci Fucci Giallo. And it's got some gruesome scenes in it. A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. You would expect as much from Luci Fucci, but I was reading about it on here. It says dog scene. The film is perhaps most famous for a scene in which Mrs. Hammond opens the door to a room filled with dogs that are apparently being experimented on. Like Dr. Fauci experimenting on Snoopy. The dogs are cut open with their hearts and guts still pulsating. The scene was so graphic and realistic that several crew members were forced to testify in court to disprove the accusation that real dogs were used in the film. Carlo Rambaldi, a special effects artist, saved Fulci from a 2-year prison sentence by presenting the fake dog props in court to a seemingly unconvinced judiciary. This was the first time in film history that an effects artist had to prove his work was not real in a court of law. Kind of interesting backstory to a lizard in a woman's skin. So there's that, and I guess I'll take a little nap since I got a few hours to get through my list. Maybe I'll get through 5 today. We'll see how it goes. Or at least 4. I almost did 5 yesterday, but ended up sleeping for 14 hours again. It's been a weekend of mostly sleep and watching YouTube and Netflix. So, anyways, that's the end of my review. I'll see how the stock market's doing later today. If my stock picks are going to be any good later.